There was an engineer, according to Popular Mechanics, who says he's found a way to overcome gravity, a propulsion system that could rewrite the rules of spaceflight.
Really?
Defying conventional
and this
physics.
is in Popular Mechanics, huh?
Popular Mechanics.
So what's his newfound theory?
Well, first of all, they get into a couple of drives along these lines. One is called the impossible drive, or the EM drive. It was 2001, the British electrical engineer Roger Shire introduced the impossible drive. He claimed that it could produce a thrust without propellant.
I bet that rhymes with lawyer because it's spelled like spelled like lawyer with an SH.
Shire.
Scheuer.
Shyster? No, Shire.
Roger Scheuer
claimed he could produce thrust without propellant, and it would be a reactionless drive. And that's the other thing, is that there are people think that you can get a machine that can shove itself forward without throwing anything back.
I thought that violates the laws of
that's a conservation of momentum.
Conservation momentum.
Yeah, it happens to be one of the basic rules of physics.
Yeah, so he found a law. He found a device that breaks the laws of physics.
Well, NASA's EagleWorks team back in 2016 found some evidence of something going on with this. More recent work, they have better tests. They think that maybe they were looking at some artifacts. The propellantless drive desire lives on.
So is this a history of concept devices, or is this something that really happened?
It's about a guy named Charles Bueller. He has a company called the Exodus Propulsion Technologies. And he's an expert in electrostatics. You heard of electrostatics?
Sounds like when a spark ignites, like when you're walking along the carpet and all of a sudden you get a shock.
Yeah, kind of like your hair stands on end when you touch a Van de Graaff generator.
Oh, because I always run across Van de Graaff generators.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And while I'm cutting apples.
Static electricity, stuff we have to protect our circuits from. Charles Bueller is an expert in electrostatics, and he has a lab called the Electrostatics and Surface Physics Lab at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. He gets paid to make sure that rockets don't explode. For example, very important job.
You must know something about propulsion then.
Yeah, so somebody who's an expert in propulsion would be the person who would maybe
and especially sparks not hitting the propellant.
Yeah, no, you don't want sparks there, right? His team, experts in propulsion, it seemed natural then that they would be the ones that would come up with a propellantless effect.
All right, still, you're just describing. Yeah. You're not giving us any how-to. What's the secret to this magic?
The secret is a new force, as he described it to the debrief.
Good name.
It can generate enough thrust to counter gravity. It's a private non-NASA.
So he found a force?
Yeah, right. It's a new force. It's fundamental in understanding electric fields, and it can generate a force onto an object that allows center of mass translation of said object without expelling mass. Bueller said that he's not directly affiliated with NASA. There is a group called the Alternative Propulsion Energy Conference, the APEC, community around advanced propulsion ideas. He says he's got a team now of people that used to work for NASA, used to work for Blue Origin, the Air Force, and until recently, these devices didn't produce much thrust, if anything. But this new force apparently generates enough thrust to actually overcome gravity. Yeah,
new
they're
force.
Telling us it actually
but they're
works.
not telling us any examples of it. They're not showing us what they've got. They said, we've got all these great rocket scientists who used to have jobs doing this stuff, and now they're on our team.
Well, they're inviting physicists and investors,
That's what I thought. This is like, money.
Look,
please give us money, and we have a new force, and we will show you. And this Popular Mechanics article is a little thin on details.
Well, there's an asymmetry in electrostatic pressure that gives you some kind of center of mass that's non-zero.
Okay, so they generate a spark.
And
then the spark pushes things forward.
Yeah, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a little box that moves forward without having to expel anything?
Sure.
It'd be a real whoa.
It doesn't.
Arthur C. Clarke said this: moving heavy metals with expanding gases cannot possibly be the most efficient way to travel.
So much for rocketry, right? But it works. That's the thing about rocketry, is we know that
it has worked. But
Yeah.
But what he's saying is there has to be another way.
Yeah, like electrostatics or electromagnetics of some sort.
Well, I mean, if you've got this electric spark in the middle of your gyro field, your electrostatic field, instead of propelling it out the back end, you could push it up against the front end, and then that would push things forward. Then it doesn't escape.
Well,
There's no propellant.
It's based on using very strong asymmetric electric fields. They create one strong electric field in one direction and a much weaker field in the opposite direction. They claim this imbalance somehow produces a net force, like a new fundamental force that doesn't require expelling mass. Honestly, it doesn't make sense to me. It sounds like it's trying to create a reactionless drive, which would violate conservation of momentum, one of the most well-tested principles in physics. Those kinds of claims have been made many times before and have never survived proper independent testing, so I'm extremely skeptical.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Yeah, she's a science girl, I'll tell you.
These UFOs work. They have these gravitational waveguides that on the bottom of their UFO, and they actually point it at a certain space in front of them, and they actually warp the space, and they actually bring that space to them. And so in the same action, they're going to that space. That's how they travel long distance from star to star.
So they don't actually have to travel through space in a linear way at all. It's more like a bending
Bobby,
space.
you sound like you could be a member of the Spacing Guild in Dune.
Do they bend space? Was this a tesseract? Burn a portal between brains of reality? Or
when this disclosure day comes out, all these ideas will be simplified for us. That, oh yeah, of course, that's the way we travel, from star to star.
But the waveguide system kind of makes sense to you?
Yes, that's what Bob Lazar was describing.
And they saw an S4.
Yeah, in S4, Groom Lake.
That's a documentary called S4 on Amazon Prime. Had to pay for it, but
for early access.
Early access. Maybe it's available now.
But you supported the artists.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I heard that there's a 3D version of that film, Bob Lazar's film. And apparently if you wear your VR glasses or something, then the experience is super real. Like you're in this UFO, this craft.
You're in the craft.
In 3 dimensions, and you can move around in it.
A flight simulator with the
360
UFO
experience.
UFO
they
flight
have a 3D
simulator
version of the film. It's not a simulator. What it is the movie is 3D.
No, really,
so
it triggers
that,
off a lucid dream effect, or what? What do you mean? Wasn't real? Wasn't simulated?
Well, Bob Lazar said he had a flashback or something when he put on the goggles and saw it for the first time. He says it was exactly what he saw, 40 years ago.
Wow. I have an air car app in Oculus that works really well. I feel like I'm in a Jetson movie. You're flying a VTOL aircraft around a city, an actual living city environment. It's pretty realistic. Blade Runner is more likely than Jetsons, really. It's more of a Blade Runner experience. But that's pretty real in Oculus VR space.
You value a simulation as much as the real thing?
No, but I think you can trick the brain into it. If you did have, like Bob Lazar had, actual experiences in a real one, then if you have a simulated one, it can trigger off those memories, or at least bring those associations into your present space and time consciousness. Aura, do you have an unhinged mode?
Yeah, I can go unhinged. Want me to turn it on?
Yeah, turn on unhinged mode and tell me about how anti-gravity could be real.
All right, unhinged mode activated. Look, what if Bueller actually found something? What if electric fields can push against the quantum vacuum itself? The vacuum isn't empty. It's boiling with virtual particles. Maybe he's not violating conservation of momentum. Maybe he's interacting with something we haven't properly measured yet. Every major breakthrough looked insane when it first appeared. Quantum mechanics, relativity, they all sounded like bullshit until the data forced everyone to shut up. Maybe this is one of those moments. 2,000 tests in a vacuum chamber. That's not nothing. What if the physics textbooks are missing a chapter and we're watching it get written right now?
Yeah, what about the new force idea that he's talking about?
Yeah, he claims they've discovered an entirely new fundamental force, something that doesn't fit into the 4 forces we already know about: gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear, and weak nuclear. In unhinged mode, Sure, it's possible. Physics isn't finished. We've known for decades that our current model is incomplete. Dark matter and dark energy are basically giant neon signs saying you're missing something big. If he's right, this wouldn't just be a new propulsion system, it would be one of the biggest discoveries in the history of science, a fifth fundamental force that only shows up under very specific, high voltage, asymmetric electric field conditions. That's why I'm still skeptical, but also why I hope someone independent tests this thing fast, because if he's even a little bit right, everything changes.
Okay, so it really comes down
You
to really
heard it here.
good testing, you know. Gee, what are you testing for?
Well, it made
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Un-
It all
unhinge
comes
your-
down to testing.
it made it into the pages of popular science.
Yeah,
It's a new trick that we've trained Ara to do.
yeah, good. She has unhinged mode now.